Welcome to Living a Fulfilled Life podcast,
a weekly podcast on mental health awareness, everyday living, and just plain old feel-good conversations about how to have a fulfilled life from our perspective.
We're your host, and my name is Famous Irwin.
And I'm Lakeisha Irwin, and we are licensed psychotherapists who
work together,
build together,
live together,
bomb chicka chicka boom boom, and heal the world together. Please know that the content here is for informational and conversational purposes only. Because each person is unique, please make sure that you consult a healthcare professional before making any changes regarding your mental health needs. This podcast is not meant to be a substitute for mental health treatment.
Please join us as we have simple, real conversations about mental health and life.
We are looking forward to see how you hope, grow, and achieve a fulfilled life.
Hello, this is Famous and Keisha Irwin.
Hi, everybody. This is Famous and Keisha Irwin.
How are you guys? It's so great to hear from you. Great to see you.
Yeah, we hear you and we see you, Famous. We hear them. But I think what Famous is saying is it's good to be back.
It's good to be back. It's good to be back, definitely.
It's good to be heard. Not seen yet. A lot of people have been asking us about that. But for now, it's good to be heard.
From a
Fulfilled Life International, actually.
International,
yeah. Sometimes we forget to mention that, but we are from a Fulfilled Life International, and we actually call it, what do we call it for short, Famous?
Fly.
For short, we call it Fly. And
right.
We call it Fly because
a fulfilled life.
Yes, the L.
And the
I.
Exactly.
A Fulfilled Life International. I guess the A is silent, huh?
No, it's not silent. Because we say a fulfilled life. So when we say fly, we're just taking the A off.
Oh, okay.
Fulfilled life.
Yes.
International.
I'll fly away. And we're so excited to be here with you all today to share a really good topic with you, right, Famous?
Exactly. Very important topic. In fact, you did a little research on the topic, and I never knew that it existed that long. It's a very informative topic, and it is good. And so the topic we're going to be talking about is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so Mental Health, Awareness Month goes from May 1st to May 31st.
And so we're talking about it today. And as we said, all of the topics that we talk about, we feel are great. And today is another great topic. And let's jump on into it. Famous, you good?
Okay, yeah. And again, Mental Health Awareness Month is basically it's a time to raise awareness of those living with mental health or behavioral health issues and to help reduce the stigma so many experience.
And as Famous shared, this has been going on since 1949.
Wow, I didn't know it was that long.
I know, I didn't either. I thought it was maybe like within the last 20, 30 years, give or take. Of course, with all of the recent events over the last couple of years, a lot of more agencies have become more aware of awareness,
involved.
Right? Absolutely. And just advocates for mental health awareness. And it began in the U.S. and it actually started with Mental Health America.
Okay.
And so, which is also known as MHA. Sometimes there's Mental Health Association and different things that are with MHA, but I wanted to really point out that it was actually started with Mental Health America.
Exactly. And there's one agency that's been around also for some time and that agency is called NAMI. That's N as in Nancy, AMI, which stands for National Alliance on Mental Health. Now, NAMI is a really good organization because they have a lot of programs involved. You should check out their website, NAMI, N-A-M-I. Has a lot of resources there.
And to get accurate information, not that there's not a lot of accuracy in a lot of the organizations and websites that are out there, but we want to make sure that we're going to the sources that are going to provide us with appropriate statistics that are very factual and the data that can really help us understand mental health. And so they definitely have a helpline, they have a chat line, free crisis counseling. There's a lot of resources that can be located if you were to go to NAMI. And again, that's NAMI.org.
Yes.
And so when we are thinking about mental health awareness, resources that are available, and the month of mental health awareness, what does this mean? When people are saying, oh, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, what does that mean? What is it all about? What's the purpose behind this?
I believe that the purpose is awareness. As we said earlier, that people have understood it to be a real stigma and they don't like to talk about it yet. Over 1 million people have some type of interaction, some type of involvement with mental health. It could be a family member, it can be a distant relative, but many people have some type of interaction with those with mental health.
Yeah. These are some of the stats directly from NAMI. 1 in every 20 Americans is living with a serious health condition. Okay, so this might be more so like bipolar, schizophrenia, or long-time reoccurring major depression. And then one more stat I'll give you all. 50% of all lifetime mental illness begins at the age of 14. What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's a reality. And one thing that we are here to do, along with other agencies, is to really fight the stigma and to provide support, educate the public, advocate for policies that support people with mental illness and their families.
And this is part of the reason why we started this podcast and started it even in May, because Mental Health Awareness Month. We want to make sure that we are really walking and doing our part.
Exactly.
So you may be out there listening, podcasters, and okay, let me just pause for a moment here. So Famous, I got to tell you this. So we're talking about podcasters, right? And it hit me the other day that you and I are actually podcasters. Not our listeners.
I know, but some of our listeners are podcasters too.
Some of you may be podcasters too. Just hit me like you are maybe podcastees. What do you think? Podcasties.
Yeah.
Remember, we're trying to figure out
those who
what
listen to podcasts, because we run into a number of people say, "Oh yeah, I love podcasts, and I really love listening to podcasts."
Yes.
And so podcasties work.
Podcasties. I-E or Y?
Let's not get into the spelling of
Okay,
it.
we won't do that now. But hey, if you hear us and you're wondering, like, yeah, I like that, let us know. We probably could even throw a Z in there nowadays.
Just to make it fun.
Just to make it fun. We're going to figure this out as we go along. But speaking of that, we want to talk about what are some things that you all could do if you're out there, podcastees, and you are wondering how you can get involved and how you can bring more awareness. What are some things that you can do? So we're going to chat about that a little bit and give you some ideas.
Yeah, definitely. Because together we can realize our shared vision of a nation where anyone affected by mental health can get the appropriate support and quality of care. That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
Okay? Because we all want fulfilling lives. Just the awareness, getting involved with some of the agencies like NAMI. There's some other agencies. Check your local area to see what type of support systems you have in your area that support mental health awareness.
And that's a really good point, Famous, because one of the first things that we want to encourage everyone to do, wherever you are, is to know what agencies are in your community.
Yeah.
Really being able to know what mental health agencies actually exist. Whether you feel that you have a mental health condition, disorder, or a need, or you don't, just really being able to know who they are, where they're.
Of someone who, this takes me back some years. I remember the first time I had an experience where I observed someone. I used to work at this place called Builders Emporium in Pasadena, California. And I worked with an individual, and I would always see him having a conversation, but nobody was around.
Yeah.
And not knowing what was going on, it was alarming. But when you have a conversation with this person, will have a conversation with you. Yeah. But if he was off by himself, he would be talking, having a conversation. And so now that I'm a therapist, I can see the importance of understanding.
Right.
And so that you are not alarmed when you see someone having a conversation with themselves. You say, okay, this person has this diagnosis or this understanding. You're going to get that kind of information by participating in some of these organizations, agencies that really highlight mental health awareness.
For sure. And knowing that it can range. I'm grateful that you're sharing that story, Famous, because there can definitely be a range when we are recognizing individuals that have a mental health need, right? There may be something where someone is having some auditory hallucinations and they're sharing and they're talking among themselves, but it may also flow with someone who may have some light anxiety or depression and they may also need it.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah. So knowing what's in your area, if we were to ask right now, tell us 3 locations in your community where you can go and access those services, would you be able to do that? Could you share it with someone else? If there was someone that was in need of suicidal type intervention, would you be able to direct them to a phone number or to a website? Making sure that you have those services and that you can access them. In fact, we encourage individuals to make sure that they tell someone to program the suicide phone number in their phone, to just go ahead and program it in their phone so they already have it. So if there is someone who may be in a position where they've had a history of suicidal ideation, maybe encouraging them to do that. There's a lot of things that can be done, but you have to know the number first, right, to be able to give it to them.
Yeah, you have to know the number, and you also have to know the protocol. That's a real serious issue there.
One of the things that people can do is you can donate to a lot of different agencies.
Oh, yeah. A lot of these agencies, they are pretty much voluntary basis. And so their donations, the donations you give can really help them spread the awareness of mental health concerns in our community. You can actually become maybe a part of the board or really get involved that way to really find out what's going on in the community.
Knowing that your donations, whether they're financial donations, maybe donation of time that may be available to send letters or materials out, knowing that money or those financial resources could also go towards research.
One thing we definitely want to do is advocate for a better mental health care system.
For sure.
Okay. And so signing up, getting involved can really make it better.
But maybe sending some emails, it might be writing some letters.
It could be sharing your story.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a lot of listeners right now who have a family member or themselves who actually have mental health, disorders. And so being able to share your story can bring more of an awareness to people. And that's really what we're shooting for, bring the awareness there.
Yes, especially, good point, Famous. Because a lot of times people are maybe out there and you may say, oh, I don't have a mental illness. I don't know what it's like. But let's say there's a family member that you have who struggled with a substance use disorder. And so being able to really share your story of what it was like to be in that type of family with someone else can be very helpful.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So one thing we definitely want to make sure that we point out is prioritizing your mental health. And so what does that look like? Prioritizing your mental health. If you're out there.
Think of that question, prioritize your mental health. One thing that's very prevalent in our country is stress. Stress, overworking, no balance, frustrations, feeling this sense of helplessness, hopelessness. All these things have an impact on our mental health.
Burnout, compassion fatigue.
Exactly. And so really being able to prioritize our own mental health. But we've been so conditioned. We don't even realize the impact that our work ethic has on us. We're so conditioned. And we don't really realize until we take a break. And we're like, wow, wait a minute. This is the first time I've had 8 hours of sleep. Usually I'm operating on 4 or 5 hours of sleep or less. And so really being able to prioritize our own mental health through exercise, through meditation, through, if you're spiritual, reading the Bible or other sources, whatever religious belief set you have, really just understanding that and using that as a way of saying, okay, this is how I prioritize my own mental health.
That's what it's about. It's about asking yourself. So if there is a list of things that definitely stress you out and it's constant, being able to look at your life and say, what can I do differently to make sure these things are not continuous stressors? I always encourage clients to have a plan, even if you're in a place, right? Say you hate your job, you hate what's going on with some situation. There's something that is, we'll say, unavoidable in your life that is a source of stress. We'll start that exit strategy, right? Being able to say, this is very stressful, but I know in the next 2 months, this is going to change. This is going to be different. And even in that, you are prioritizing your mental health. You are at least looking at something different. So you're not at that same level of stress because you need you. You only get one mind. You only get one body. One mind and one body. So we have to take care of this. Think about
so,
it.
Keisha, you being in the mental health field, like myself, What do you do to take care of Keisha?
It's a good question. One thing that I do, and I'm going to give you a simple one, and then I'm going to give you a little bit more of something more actively that I do. One thing that I do is I have a therapist, and I completely enjoy my time with my therapist. I enjoy processing. I have that belief, you all, that if you are in a helping field, especially in mental health, that there should be some kind of a flush out where you are also connecting with someone else as well. So I don't want to go to the Weight Watchers coach who is in front of me telling me to lift weights and telling me to get on the treadmill and to do all of these physical interventions, and they don't have their health under control. Yeah. I'm not saying that a person has to connect with a therapist to do the work, but I believe that it is important in this line of work that we do, especially in my position with what I do with other therapists, having that space where I can just sort through things and just release things is so important to me.
Yeah, and that's great. It's great having a therapist like you. I too have a therapist. But one thing I do, I have long days. And my days pretty much start about 8:30, 9. And they'll go to 6:30, 7.
Yeah.
But I have these 15, 20-minute breaks in between.
Yeah.
Every time I have a break, I put on relaxation music. I tell my alarm, just in case I go into a deep sleep, to wake me up at a certain time. And I always feel refreshed because talking to clients, you're giving everything that you have,
right?
And given everything that you have, if it's back to back to back, you will get depleted.
Absolutely.
And so it's really good for me to take those breaks, 15, 20-minute break. That's all I need. When I get back, I'm alive, I'm awake, I'm ready to go.
It doesn't. We need these things to really charge us. The other thing that I was going to say that I do, and I guess this is maybe a smaller, interesting thing, but it just is breathing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm all about the 4x4, the box breathing,
box
you
breathing.
all. And I'm telling you, so it's like smelling in a rose and blowing out a candle.
Yeah.
And I say this, we were somewhere the other day and I was saying it and people were like, okay, but literally you are smelling in a rose for 4 seconds.
Yeah.
You are holding it for 4 seconds and you are releasing it for 4 seconds.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's as simple as it may sound. If I'm doing a morning run, a morning walk, a morning something, I will stop for some moments and I will take that in and I will look at the trees and I will look at the sky and I will listen to the birds. And sometimes it's a quick moment, but it's being present in that moment and just allowing me to feel life and to enjoy.
You sound so passionate about
around.
this right now.
I am, because it just feels so good to be able to do that.
Okay, I can feel that. I can feel that,
Can you feel
Keisha.
it?
I can. One thing I do, and a lot of times I share this with my clients too. I don't know where I read. I do a lot of reading on mental health, a lot of reading on behavior, I do a lot of
There's
reading.
books everywhere, y'all.
I love to read, and a lot of the stuff that I'm reading is written from 1940, 1950, 1800s, really good stuff. And so one thing I learned, and I'm not sure which book I got it of, but I heard this guy count from 29 to 0.
Yeah, you do that often.
And a lot of my clients, when I get on, they have so much anxiety and they're just racing thoughts. And I say, listen to my voice. I'm counting from 29 to 0. I'm not going to go all the way, but I go 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24. And I'll go all the way to 0. I kid you not. Their whole speech and everything just slows down.
Yeah.
And they said, that's the first time in a long time I've been able to relax.
Yeah.
I've had kids with ADHD, moving, shaking, and I tell them count. They'll be shaking their leg, count from 29 to 0. And they start counting, and all of a sudden I notice that their leg stops shaking.
Yeah.
And because here's the thing, a person cannot have 2 different thoughts at the same time. If you're thinking about that next number, you can't be thinking about what made you upset last night. And if you start thinking about what happened last night, you're going to lose count.
Yeah.
And then you're going to start over. Sometimes I'll get people say 17 like 5 times. That lets me know, okay, you really need to come in and pay attention to your counting.
Yeah.
And so that's very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. It is very good. And like you said, it's really interrupting the pattern, interrupting the thought, right?
Yeah.
It's all of a sudden you think chicken, elephant. It just really
It just
breaks
interrupts
up
it. It really
completely.
does. Sometimes you can just clap your hands. You can do anything
Thought
to
stopping.
disrupt those thoughts. And so why are we sharing this when we're talking about mental health awareness? Because these are some things to do
Right.
that will help you manage the stressors in your life.
Absolutely. And prioritize your mental health, because that's really what this month
That's
is
what it's
all
about.
about. It's about making sure that you put your mental health first, that what's around you, that you have awareness.
Mm-hmm.
It's just bringing it up towards it's bringing it up and making it a priority.
Yeah.
Our mental health.
It's making it a priority. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
So sharing information is
Okay.
going to be important. So some of these things that we're talking about, share our podcast, everyone. If you know someone, share our podcast. Yeah. Like it, subscribe.
Right.
We're on YouTube. We are Apple.
Amazon
we're
Music.
on Amazon. Yeah, share our
Spotify.
podcast. But not just our podcast. We always like to say this. We ain't greedy. I guess we are greedy. So we definitely
I
want
don't know
you.
if greedy is the word, but we have some really good information that we want to share.
Yeah, but what I was saying
So we're
is,
not stingy.
yeah, we're not. Whatever the word, I'm unsure of what we want to use right now. But what we want to say is we're not selfish.
No, definitely
But
not.
selfish is not a bad word anyway, so we won't say that. The point that we're trying to make here,
The point we're trying to make is that we care.
yes, we care, and we want you to listen to us, but we also want you to listen to others.
Oh, yeah.
Listen to as much as you can, and just put all of the information out there for everyone.
Information is good. You know, information is good. It depends on what information you're listening to. However,
sure.
there's some really good information out there. There's some great books out there. There's some great audible tapes and audio tapes, some really good stuff.
Absolutely. And so there's so many things that you can do when we talk about mental health and awareness. So reaching out to someone, if you know someone with a mental health diagnosis, reach out to that person, check on them, see how they're doing, see if there's any way that you can support them for sure. That's going to be a big thing that you could do. Start conversations about mental health.
Exactly. Everyone, listen, what does it say? Over 1 million Americans have some type of interaction, or if not for themselves, with mental health. Talk to people. There's a lot of things. You were talking to me, Keisha, today about the recent shooting, and that is a big thing. That's a really big thing.
Huge.
And what if these individuals who are committing these acts really have someone that they can share with what's going on with them?
Yeah.
You know, what's going on with them? Why the anger? Why the fear? Why the hate? Why does one think that it's okay to do these?
What's so interesting, and we were talking like, hey, we probably need to go ahead and do one on shootings, because there's a lot of topics that are coming in and a lot of ideas. And one thing that we don't recognize is that although there are so many of these shootings that take place, we have to also remember that there's a lot of shootings that we don't hear about that actually were avoided. And so what I mean is law enforcement steps in. For some reason, it didn't happen. There might be interventions. We know this from working within the schools, that there are a lot of things that come up within the schools, and there's a lot of distractions that take place. There's a lot of personnel, a lot of teachers that step in. And the point that I'm making is that this is our issue. Everyone, whether you're in the field, you're not in the field, paying attention to what may be going on with our friends, with our neighbors, with our children, with everyone. We have to look at this differently. May has been designated as Mental Health Month, but this is a lifetime thing.
Right.
This is a forever thing.
Right.
So this should not end on the 31st. This is ongoing for us to have a conversation about mental health, prioritize our mental health, share our story, and to reach out to others. That is so important.
Exactly. Mental health awareness.
Yes.
Mental health awareness.
Z's.
And so the thing is this. Become more aware. Pay attention. This person looks like they're upset. Let me ask them if they're okay.
Yeah. And I think part of it, to your point, Famous, is really checking on everyone, though.
Everyone that's in your proximity.
Yeah. And I say that because, yes, we can tell sometimes because we're in this field, but also you can't always necessarily tell. And I say that because, like the saying, check on your strongest friend, right? Check on your individuals who may have that smile, who may have that appearance, and they may just be wearing that. So why not let's just check on everyone?
Check.
Let's do a temperature check on every single one.
Yeah.
The person that says everything's okay all the time, the person who never responds, everybody.
You know what? I like the mental health awareness, month. But let's try this. This is for our audience.
Okay.
Every person that comes within your space, I would like for you to say, if it's the morning, good morning. If it's the afternoon, good afternoon. If it's the evening, good evening. Speak to people. Smile at them. Give them good eye contact. Have a great day. These little things speaks volumes, and they can really save a life just by saying good morning.
Yes.
Just by saying good afternoon. Just by saying good evening could save a life. You know why? Because in this busy world that we're living in, that person stopped. They looked me in the eye and they acknowledged me.
Absolutely. Here's the challenge.
Challenge.
Pick a number, Famous, between
my favorite number, 3 and 7. Okay, I'll back it down. 4.
Yeah, because his favorite number is like 44.
So I'll say 4.
Yeah, so let's go with 4. So if you are under the sound of my voice, it doesn't matter whenever you hear this, out of May, in May, it doesn't matter. I am going to challenge you to send a text to at least 4 individuals in your phone. And just tell them that they're important.
And that you love them.
And that you love them if you love them.
Well, they're in your phone.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean... But tell them that they're important. Tell them that you care. And maybe ask them how they're doing. Write the message out. Cut and paste it if you want to. Call them if you can. But we want to encourage you to do that. And then, just as a bonus for the 5th person... I know we said 4, but we're just going to throw one more.
You always do
right?
extra.
Yeah, I always do extra. I am going to encourage you to do a self check-in and ask yourself how you're doing. I really want to encourage you to do that.
You know, I read somewhere, and I started actually doing this with a lot of my clients. My question to them is this: are you happy? And they'll say either yes, and it stops there, or if they say no, what's missing?
Yeah.
What's missing? Most people are going to say yes or no.
Right.
Yes or no?
You find more people say no than yes, Famous?
I've been finding a balance between the two. But those who I ask that next question, if they say no, what's missing? And sometimes they struggle with finding out what's missing. And so that's what we want to understand. What's missing from my life that's keeping me from being happy?
Good topic, too.
Very good question. I like it because it opens the door for a really healthy conversation. And I know now we're not just speaking to the general audience. We have some therapists out there that are listening too.
Yes.
Okay. And so this is for you as well.
Yeah.
I'm not immune. Keisha, you're not immune from feeling despondent or sad or feeling confused. You have to have positive friends around too, not friends who are draining and just always dumping on you.
And everyone needs that, especially when we're talking about Mental Health Awareness Month. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. And we just want to say that we can't wait to see how you
hope, grow, and achieve a fulfilled life.
Bye, Podcasties.
Goodbye, you guys. Take care.